Hello and welcome back to The Sims 4. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are in The Sims 4 and we are building what I'm calling the very self-indulgent ConflictNerd Studios, which is basically a production studio. It's basically what I would build if I had millions upon millions of pounds, because this wouldn't be cheap to do. It would be very, very cool to do, and I would be so excited about having a project like this in my life. Unfortunately, it would be super expensive. Not just the construction, but everything. Just every part of this. The decoration, the hardware, the PCs, just the everything. And you'll see why as we go through this. But to explain exactly what this is for those of you that might not be entirely sure, and I should also say that the title of this video might not be specifically ConflictNerd Studios because I'm recording this commentary when I'm not 100% sure on the name, so just bear with me on that front as well. But basically, this is what I would make if I had a lot of money and could afford to then hire a bunch of people to work for me and with me, and yeah, that's the idea behind this. So there's 5 offices, 2 of them have green screens, every office has a proper gaming rig and a microphone and all the stuff that an aspiring, well, at this point they wouldn't be an aspiring YouTube creator, they would be a YouTube creator because they'd have an office in a building like this. Basically, everything a YouTube creator could ever want is going to be in this building. So you have your specific office where you can make your videos from, and then there's 2 dedicated rooms for one, streaming, or dual streaming. There's 2 PCs, 2 desks in front of a green screen where 2 people can stream at once. And in that room, there's another desk with another PC where the producer of that stream would be, the guy in charge of where, you know, what the camera's on, what you're seeing on the stream, what graphics are on screen. That's where the producer would sit at the 3rd PC, not in front of the screen, not really being seen, but that's okay. The other dedicated production room is basically a dedicated green screen room. So if you wanted to stand in front of a camera, in front of a green screen and deliver, say, an editorial piece to camera, that is absolutely a thing you could do in that room. And they work. I just want to mention they actually work. These green screens, I use the sort of glowing wallpaper and floor texture for these things, and they work. I've used green screens in The Sims 4 before, so if you happen to download this and actually want to try out the green screens, they will legitimately work if you just get some good chroma keying going on. Be that, you know, whether you do it through Photoshop or a video editing software, they'll totally work. So, you know, not only is this a production space for your Sims, it could be a production space for you if you were also an aspiring or working YouTuber. So there you go. Anyway, I'm totally rambling. I should talk about what else this place has. There are 3 bathrooms. There is a full reception area. That big room you're looking at right there is the kitchen and dining space. So there is a fully functional kitchen. So you can eat. This little room at the side here is just generic storage. I think you'll see what goes in there in just a little bit. I repeat the same item over and over again because I thought it would be kind of funny. And then that space in the middle, that lower section, is basically the editing den. And I call it that because there are going to be 8 PCs down there where I imagine the editors would sit right in the middle of the building. I use some room dividers to nicely separate it and make it feel a little bit more enclosed. There are some sofas down there, and I use the police pin board, like the crime map thing from Get to Work. I use that in here as well, sort of like a production board or something, so you can sort of have pins and things that are current projects, and you can see what isn't and what is coming up and all that. You'll see it when it gets put in. It's pretty cool, and I'm really happy with it. And generally, this building I am super, super happy with. I do want to say that I always struggle with exteriors and buildings. I struggle to make buildings look cool, and I've always done that. Whether or not I go to Google and look for inspiration, or whether I'm traveling and get inspiration, my buildings are always square, and I really can't help that. I've been trying for so long to fix that, but I like to think that I sort of make it work because my interiors are better than my exteriors, at least in my opinion. Maybe you disagree, but I feel like my interior spaces are always better. So I don't always mind when the exteriors aren't up to scratch. And I also don't really mind it because you can have this beautiful, incredible, magnificent exterior on your build in The Sims, but you don't always see it. The space you do see is the interior space, so I sort of look at it that way and go, meh, the exterior is maybe not amazing, but that's okay because the interior is everything I wanted it to be. And to be honest, I feel like this is, I should say, and this isn't me necessarily trying to defend some bad building. I know this isn't perfect, but I haven't really built anything in The Sims in a long time. The last thing I built was the house for the Rags to Riches LP that's going on at the moment. That was the last thing I built, and then before that, I don't know what it was, but I haven't done a proper sit down and build in The Sims in a long time. The reason I did this was basically, I wasn't feeling so great, felt just a little bit down, was a bit sore, my throat's kind of been a bit wonky these last couple of weeks, and being at Simmers Meetup was absolutely amazing, but meeting so many people, and generally going to any event is going to result in you getting a little bit sick, and oh, I was stressed for so much of my Manchester trip. This, by the way, the rest of this video might be a little bit off topic, because I do want to talk about this. So, I was in Manchester recently for Simmers Meetup. I keep talking about it. If you've been watching any of my other Sims videos, I talked about it there as well. But I got there on Friday the 30th of September, and Simmers Meetup was on the Saturday, and then I flew home on Sunday afternoon. I got there on Friday, and when I got to the airport to leave Northern Ireland at like 5:30, maybe 6 in the morning, my flight was at 7:10. I got into Manchester after a slightly delayed flight at about 8:30. That was fine. Except I noticed that my phone had a really, really bad battery, and it kept dropping super quickly. And my boarding pass for my return flight, my Uber app, which I needed to get around Manchester, and everything I would need for the event was on my phone, including, you know, my way to contact family and not completely freak out. So that was a problem. Went to the Samsung store, left it with them, and it sort of got fixed. This was a really stressful day, though, because this took place across, you know, traveling and then getting to Manchester, hanging out with James, Deli, and Zeus. It was just stressful because I wasn't certain that my phone was going to work. So that got fixed, that was fine, and the rest of Friday was great. And then Saturday was also great. Simmers Meetup was incredible. Some people came and said hi, and if you are watching this and you came to say hi, thank you very much. You were absolutely lovely. There was no one at Simmers Meetup that I spoke to that was, I was thinking, get this person. It was lovely. It really was. Everyone was just absolutely lovely and kind and beautiful, and thank you. And that's something I want to say as well. It was cringe-free. Like, you look at, like, Minecon, the Minecraft convention videos, and you always think, you know, some of the questions get asked are a bit weird or something. Simmers Meetup was lovely. Anyway, so Simmers Meetup goes off without a hitch. Saturday is a beautiful, beautiful day. I go back to my hotel at like 11:30, and I try to get to sleep pretty much straight away because I have to be up super early to go to the airport in the morning. And then at 5 a.m., I wake up in absolute terror because the fire alarm is going off in the hotel, and it's terrifying because I'm in a city I don't know, and I sort of limited how much money I would have. I moved all of my money from the account linked to the card I was taking with me to another account because I didn't want to spend way too much money, which it was kind of dumb, but anyway. So my money was limited. I didn't know anyone in the city other than James, Deli, and Zeus who were leaving on Sunday. So I was terrified. It turns out it was fine. It was a fault. There was just a problem with the electronics. The alarm went off and they couldn't turn it off. Still terrifying. I stayed awake until like 7 a.m. because I just couldn't sleep. Got to sleep, woke back up at 8:30, went straight to the airport because I was done with Manchester. I get to the airport, my flight's delayed by 15 minutes. That's fine, 15 minutes is nothing when you're traveling. I get on the flight. We're informed the flight's delayed by another 10 minutes. That's fine, I'm on the plane. We are taxiing out to the runway. 30 seconds into taxiing, the entire plane shakes and rattles like crazy. That was terrifying. I'm not an easy flyer, so that was great. What happened was the vehicle towing the plane had a bar connected to the back of it to attach to the plane to then pull the plane. That bar broke. So my Manchester trip was filled with so many amazing moments, but so many terrifying moments as well. It was amazing and terrifying, and part of me wants to do it again, part of me really doesn't. Anyway, let's get back to the build. Story time is over. By the way, if you hear beeping in the background, that's my phone. I just muted it. So those panels in the wall that I've just placed there, I'm using those as basically soundproofing. If you look at any studio, go to Google image search and like type in recording studio, you'll see what I mean by using those panels. Lots of sort of corner desks here and there. And at this point, I'm just sort of decorating these offices in a fairly generic way. Just everyone's slightly unique and all that stuff. I will say, the microphones, I want you to suspend your disbelief and use your imagination in those microphones. I want you to imagine they sort of bend in the middle, and the microphone stand kind of comes down in front of the person in the chair. That's why those are there, because you can't get any other microphones in The Sims 4, so that's the way those work. It is also worth mentioning that I talked over the entire build process of the dedicated like green screen and streaming room. That's an interesting sentence to say with my accent. But hopefully you saw in those rooms what I meant by having space for 2 streamers and a producer, and then just a dedicated green screen room where you can stand in front of the screen and talk to camera. If you didn't, go back in the video, mute me, and just watch and you'll see exactly what I was talking about. Anyway, with that said and done, this office here, again, I was just sort of decorating kind of with as much variety as I could get into it. So I put an award in, I put some posters in, I put a duffel bag of cash underneath the table because that YouTube money though, basically, that's what I'm hinting at there. Again, at this point, if if I had built this building, if I had like gone to some construction company and said, build me the most amazing like studio you can, I'd be bathing in money. And that's always a weird thing for me. The whole notion of like swimming in money. Money's filthy. Like, think about how many people have been holding that money. It's filthy. And then if you like the whole Scrooge McDuck diving into coins thing, that wouldn't work. Family Guy tackled that really well, but I'll not go into that because it's a little bit graphic. But yeah, that's moving on. I have a tendency to ramble. You may have noticed this. That sign there, basically, I want you to imagine that says ConflictNerd, and I want you to imagine the little arrow thing above it is just a CN, and then like the bar beneath it is just like, I don't know, some random facts, like this many views to date across all of our channels, this many videos to date across all, I don't know. Imagine there's cool statistics there, motivational stuff. You're doing great, guys. Look how many views you've got. Look how many videos you've made. Look what you've done. Well done. Keep it up. Good work, tally-ho, what. That's what that little bar beneath it is. It's not stocks. That's not what it is. So this office here, I was building this originally thinking it would basically be my office. I was also toying around with the idea of maybe putting one of the DJ set things in the streaming room or the green screen room as opposed to the computer, but I stuck with the computer anyway. But yeah, that office I was building originally to sort of be mine, and then just sort of again went back with the generic idea. This office here is possibly the least furnished one of the lot, just a couple of chairs and that's about it. And then we come along here to the editing den, which I had a few ideas for. I wasn't really sure what to do with it. I kind of wanted the tables together, I kind of didn't. I kind of wanted a wall between them, but then I couldn't do it because of the foundations in the building. So eventually I do just put the PCs, the tables together, and they take up a bit less space. But I was originally toying around with a bunch of ideas. I was going to have them further apart than they end up being. I was going to have them closer than they end up being. It was a bit of trial and error to figure out what I wanted. Part of me wanted to have some dividers between the desks, not necessarily behind each chair, but actually sort of in the middle of the desks. I kind of wanted some dividers because I thought that could look kind of interesting, but none of the dividers in the game really worked. I kind of just wanted something properly small, and if I could get some half walls down here, that would have worked, but unfortunately I couldn't, so we just sort of have the desks there. I did add some couches in the corner there with one of those weird spotlight things. I was going to add some rugs down, but I ended up not doing that. We do absolutely go and end up getting more couches in as well. I also changed the floor to carpet, obviously, because there was a bit too much wood going on there. I am so glad that there are more carpets in The Sims 4, by the way. I know that happened a while ago. I know it's been a thing for a while that there are more carpets in the game than there were when it launched, but I'm still really glad. I don't know when the carpets were added. I just know I like them. And this is the point when this room started to come together for me. I decided to put some dividers just around the editing den to close it in a little bit, make it feel a little bit more like it could be just its own room as opposed to just completely open to everything else going on in this space. That's something I felt was really important to do, just to make it feel like this wasn't one giant room. Because when it feels like one giant room, it feels like one giant thing that you need to furnish and decorate. Having these dividers around here made me okay with just putting these posters up. And by the way, I know I'm repeating some of those posters. I know we already have some of them on the lot, but that's all right. I'm not too worried. Those other posters that are already on the lot are in offices, so it would kind of make sense that maybe we have a couple of posters, or someone liked one of the posters we had in the walls out in the sort of editing den, so they got their own version of it. It's fine. That really finished the entire central room. It made it come together. Those dividers and the posters just absolutely worked. The only downside, of course, is that you can't lower those dividers. So if you're in that space, you're having a bit of a play, you're not going to be able to lower those all that well. But that should be okay. Nothing too big to worry about there. And at the moment, as you can see, we are currently working on the kitchen. And like I said, it is a fully functional kitchen. There is a fridge, a stove, a sink, a microwave, obviously a smoke detector. And there are some benches as well. Worth mentioning, there are some benches, there are some high tables, but I do get a lower table in here as well. I'm actually using the stools and the tables and the chairs from Dine Out because I actually really like that set, to be honest. And that's kind of it. I just do some decorations here and there for the kitchen. I don't think I do too much with it because I currently work out of an office. I do all my YouTube stuff out of an office. And like, I don't own the building, I just have 2 offices. And the kitchen here is very basic. It's nowhere near this size. It is worth saying. There's also no like dedicated eating space either. It's just sort of a kitchen where you can heat up some food, you can make some tea or whatever. But you will find in offices generally there is just a lot of white walls, and that's the case here. There's a lot of just white walls. So I sort of carried that theme through a little bit, kept a lot of white walls, but I decided to just make it a little bit more interesting in other places. Like the editing den I made kind of, I guess, kind of modern. I'm not really sure what you'd call it. For me, it's kind of modern. It looks kind of interesting. I'm really happy with it. The reception area is, I guess, kind of modern. I love combining, and this is something everyone does, and I'm so sorry that I keep doing it. I'm so sorry that I've kind of done what some people are going to call a really basic design with sort of the horizontal brick-looking tile things and then the wood. I know that's something that I guess is almost a cliche of modern quote-unquote design, but I just like it. I'm a sucker for cliches. I love me some bricks and tiles with some wood, when you get the cold colors of that kind of gray with the warm tones of the wood, it just looks absolutely beautiful, and I'm an absolute sucker for it, so I do apologize, but it's what I'd do. If I had the money to build this place, I'd build it. Anyway, we're moving outside to get on with the exterior decorations and the landscaping, and this is where my design abilities fall completely flat, because I just didn't know what to do with the outside of this building. I don't do exteriors, I don't do landscaping. I can do interiors, and I can be really happy with my interiors. I cannot for the life of me get good at landscaping and exterior design. It's why I try to avoid it in any game that has that as an option. I can do a good interior, but I can't do the outside spaces. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is pretty much going to be it for today. There are going to be some screenshots coming up at the end of the video, but that's going to be it for the building. So thank you kind of for watching. This has been The Sims 4, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye!